My roommate knocked on my bedroom door at 11 p.m. She said, "I don't want to be alone tonight." The knock came at exactly 11:03 p.m. 3 slow taps echoed through my tiny apartment, just loud enough to pull me away from my laptop. I glanced at the clock, expecting it to be another neighbor complaining about the music upstairs. Instead, I heard my roommate's voice. "Ryan?" There was something different about it. Softer, shaking. "I don't want to be alone tonight." For a second I froze. Emma wasn't the kind of person who asked for help. We'd lived together for almost 11 months, and in all that time, she'd handled everything by herself. Whether she was sick, stressed, or exhausted from her hospital shifts, she always insisted she was fine. So hearing those words made my stomach tighten. I opened the door. Emma stood in the hallway wearing an oversized gray hoodie, sweatpants, and fuzzy socks. Her dark hair was tied into a messy bun, but loose strands clung to her face as if she'd been running her hands through it for hours. Her eyes were red. Not from crying, from not sleeping. "You okay?" I asked. She forced a smile that lasted less than a second. "No." I stepped aside. "Come in." She walked into my room without saying another word. My bedroom wasn't much bigger than a storage closet. There was a bed against one wall, a desk covered in camera equipment, and a bookshelf filled with mystery novels I'd promised myself I'd read someday. Emma looked around awkwardly. "I know this is weird." "It is," I admitted. She laughed quietly. "Yeah, I figured." I pulled my desk chair closer. "You can sit." She shook her head. "I don't really want to sit." "Then what's going on?" She stared at the floor. "I've been hearing someone in my room." The sentence hung in the air. I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Footsteps," she whispered. She swallowed. At first I thought it was the neighbors upstairs. Then I realized it was inside my room. I tried to stay calm. Our apartment's old. Buildings make noises. I know. And pipes can sound. It's not the pipes. She looked up. "I hear someone walking." The seriousness in her voice erased every joke I was about to make. "When?" "Every night this week. Did you check?" "I always do." "And?" "No one's there." I leaned back. Emma wasn't someone who believed in ghosts. She was a nurse. She believed in medicine, facts, science. That's why this bothered me. "You've been working a lot lately. I know what exhaustion feels like." You could still be imagining. I wish I was. Silence filled the room. Then she quietly added, "I hear breathing." A chill crawled up my back. Before I could answer, a loud thump came from somewhere in the apartment. We both looked toward my bedroom door. Another sound, like something sliding across the floor. Emma grabbed my arm without thinking. "See?" I stood up. "It probably fell off a shelf." "You don't believe that?" "No." I picked up the flashlight I kept beside me. "My desk." "Stay here." "I'm not staying here alone." "Fair enough." We stepped into the hallway together. The apartment suddenly felt much darker than usual. Only the kitchen light was on. Everything else sat in shadow. I slowly walked toward the living room. Nothing. The couch was exactly where we'd left it. The television was off. The windows were locked. The front door was deadbolted. Emma whispered, "Listen." I stopped. For several seconds, nothing. Then, tap, tap, tap. 3 quiet knocks, coming from inside her bedroom. Emma's fingers tightened around my sleeve. "I told you." I walked toward her door. Every step felt louder than the last. Another knock. 3 more taps. Not loud. Patient. Almost polite. I reached for the doorknob. Emma shook her head. "Don't. We need to see. What if someone's in there? Then we'll call the police." I turned the handle. The door creaked open. The room was empty. Her bed was neatly made. Desk lamp off. Closet closed. Window locked. No one. I checked under the bed. Nothing. Inside the closet. Just clothes. The bathroom connected to her room. Empty. I let out a slow breath. See? Emma didn't answer. She was staring at her nightstand. What? She pointed. Journal. It was lying open. I frowned. Maybe you left it like that. I never do. She walked over carefully. One page had been folded. She opened it. Her face turned pale. What? Without speaking, she handed it to me. Across the page in shaky handwriting were 5 words. You're remembering it again, Emma. I looked at her. You write this? No. It looks like your handwriting. I know. I examined it again. It did look remarkably similar. Almost identical. But something about the letters felt rushed, uneven, like whoever wrote them had trembling hands. When was the last time you opened this? 3 days ago. And that wasn't there? She shook her head immediately. I would have remembered. I looked around again. There had to be an explanation. Someone had entered? Impossible. The locks weren't damaged. The windows hadn't been opened. No valuables were missing. Only those 5 words. Emma slowly sat on the edge of her bed. I think I'm losing my mind. No. You don't know that. I do. How? Because people losing their minds usually don't question it. She looked at me with tired eyes. You sound like my therapist. You have a therapist? I stopped going 6 months ago. I nodded. What happened? I thought I was better. Better from what? She hesitated. Then she whispered, I don't remember most of my childhood. That answer caught me completely off guard. I remember school. She continued quietly. I remember college. I remember moving here. But before I was 12, she rubbed her forehead. It's mostly blank. I didn't know what to say. My therapist thought it was trauma. She laughed bitterly. I thought she was wrong. You still think that? Emma stared at the journal. I'm not sure anymore. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Rain began tapping against the windows. The apartment suddenly felt much smaller, much quieter. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered. Hello? No response, only breathing. Slow, steady. Exactly the way Emma had described it. I pulled the phone away from my ear. Hello? The line went dead. Emma noticed my expression. What is it? I slowly lowered the phone. I think someone just called me. Who? I don't know. What did they say? I looked toward the dark hallway. They didn't. I swallowed hard.